Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today I titled this message, Whose Side Are You On? Whose side are you on? We see many things show up in movies and various media. And of course, those things have their share of occult influence. And some things, simply put, are of various fraternal groups. They are intentionally letting you know who they are, what their agenda is for the day, for the week, for the month, for years. But we have this group of individuals who they don't know as much as they think they know. We have some individuals who show up and assume that anybody who has a certain symbol, anybody who has a color or colors of sorts, that they must be a part of an occult group. Can I tell you that I am one of those who I'm not on anybody's side. I tell my children and others, I say I'm a free agent. Now you can think whatever you want to think and you can say whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, even if I was a part of any of those groups, I sure wouldn't go around letting the whole world know about it. I mean, the old school just didn't put their business out in the street, and that was for good reason. But the new school flashes and flaunts and flosses. And so it is clear whose side they are on. Okay? They're making it plain. As one person said that I came across some years back on YouTube, they have things hidden in plain sight. Now, today's message, I asked the question, whose side you are on, because I understand that there are those people who do have a side that they're very devoted to. They are a part of their subgroups, and they are not about to do too much of anything to move away from their subgroup, to say goodbye to their subgroup, even though it's dysfunctional. They're just going to be there. They're going to be there until the day they die. But this question isn't just any question. This is a question that the Lord Himself put upon me. Whose side are you on? You see, because we understand that certain groups that you are a part of, you do get certain benefits. We understand that there are those individuals who they believe in a cause, or they have a certain agenda, or they may have some unresolved emotional issues from way back when. And so they will gravitate to certain groups in the hopes of being empowered. Others will get power for a time, but then they will succumb to the power. The power will take hold in such a way where they have no control over that. So you got to be careful what you're asking for when you decide that, no, I don't want to be that one that's of light. I prefer to be the one that's of darkness. I prefer to be affiliated with those groups that are about the demonic agenda. Of course, they will not say that, right? Because, oh, that doesn't sound too nice. That's not good. And they know that there's a lot of people that they would not listen to them, would not follow after them, would not do too much of anything when you just boldly say something that has a demonic ring to it. Others are so comfortable with the demonic presence that is before them, whether it's signs, symbols, colors, what have you, that they go along with just about anything, particularly when money is involved. But of course, the God that we serve, the one that we love, the one that has been there for us, even when others have taken advantage, even when others were not forthright and truthful, and even when others misunderstood us and placed us with positions and titles that are not accurate, that God who loves us so much, He awakens us. He shows us some things through media. He tells us that this is what the latest is, even though they have it cloaked in something funny, something colorful, something entertaining, something that's just supposed to be just a movie, just a radio program, a television talk show. It's nothing that serious, but it is. And that's why God wants us to be very wise, discerning, and most of all, trusting in Him. Because see, if you are like a child who is walking with his or her parent, if you are obedient, you're going to hold God's hand, so to speak, in the spiritual realm. You are not going to be that one that's going to go running off down the road and you don't know where to go. And now it's dark and it's scary and you're hearing weird noises. You're going to make sure that you stay with the one who knows that road. Well, we got some people who run off down the road in search of a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, only to come up with nothing more than dust, right? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Now, I asked once again this question as the Lord led me, whose side are you on? Because as we continue down this journey toward our healing and learn more about ourselves spiritually and realize just how gifted, how empowered we are, and that God does indeed show His plan, His purpose, not all the details, but He does in our lives. We've got to make sure that we stay on the right side, on the side of light, on the side that is going to strengthen us, that's going to move on us to help others. We can't afford to be wavering. We can't afford to be the individual who says they're gifted, but they don't want to read the manual. You can't be that one that you have all of this intelligence, genius, but you have no shepherd, the creator who put the genius in you. He knows His design better than you ever will. We got individuals who will entrust their genius, their talents, their gifts to some shady people. Some people are so misguided. They've been wounded for so long that they use their gifts in chaos. They use their gifts in ways that don't make any logical sense. They use their gifts in twisted, demented ways. And then when you call them out on it, they say, that wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about. In the right hands, a person can heal and use their gifts according to the will of the Lord. Case in point, long time ago, I was told I have the gift of wisdom, gift of knowledge. And then there's been times in my life where I have performed dream interpretation. I've seen things happen before they happen. But if it's used for evil, if it's used to bring people down, it's no longer about walking in the light, it's walking in the darkness. We've got some individuals who they're fascinated with superhuman strength. There are those that will use all sorts of pills, participate in all sorts of tests because they just want to be like what they see on television and movies and so on and so forth. If God has given certain people that ability, then there is no having to do too much with it other than to just walk according to the will of the Lord. Of course, you may have some others that will guide you, direct you, but you're not that one that is going after something that is not God's purpose or plan, something that you are not gifted to have. You see, because you already know, I got what I got. But we got individuals who they want something and they're willing to be like those in the Bible who are willing to pay. Can I get what you got, Jesus? Can I be able to have the ability to perform miracles and signs and wonders? They go to the Lord and have these private prayers. And then when they get close to something or they get to experience something that's God-like, they don't do the right thing with it. these self-absorbed, psychopathic, mentally disturbed, never was healed from the trauma way back when, they do all the wrong things with it. Okay? That's why everybody shouldn't know everything about how you have obtained your gifting. There are those that will say, well, I received my gift from God. That's all they need to know. They don't need to know anything else. Okay, some individuals just don't need to know anything else, because if they knew everything, what they would do is they would nitpick, they would find fault simply because they're jealous. Okay, so as you are walking this journey and you are holding God's hand, and you're making sure you're not running off right down that dark road, when God moves on you to speak, you make sure that you speak in limited information. When you post with limited information. When you are sharing and talking about things, you don't give too many specifics away. They know, okay, this is what I have. They see it, but they don't need to know how deep all of this goes. That's why God doesn't even give us his complete purpose or plan, because he knows that at some point somebody's going to come along and ask questions. And you won't be telling a lie when you say, I don't know. Because some things, no, I'm sorry, I don't know. God didn't reveal that to me. And even if he did reveal certain things, I'm not going to tell you anything unless he gives me the green light to tell you. I've had individuals in the spiritual realm, I would feel and see, why did she write this? Why did she do this? This makes no sense to me. This isn't Christian-like. Can I tell you that there were those individuals that came through who said, no, you're not really enlightened, Nichole, because if you were enlightened, you would know about that Bible. You would know about religion. You would know about, I know about a lot of things. I'm just not going to get into that with you. I also know too that there are many, many diamonds in that Bible. Come on. And there's no way that I'm going to turn my back, turn my head on anything that I know is divine. Man can twist it, he can flip it, he can add to it, he can take away or what have you. But God, when he gives us the Holy Spirit, we can see things in the scriptures that other people can't. Come on. Some of you were able to discern some things from the scriptures related to this journey that you're on. And you recognize that side that you was once on, you didn't want to be on that side because that side was not of light. That side wasn't beneficial to you. That side was nothing more than dramas and traumas. That side was designed to keep you oppressed, depressed. Okay? And so when you started to see a crack, if you will, a crack of light and peace, and I can actually be emotionally and physically free. I can actually go down this path where I don't owe nobody anything. You know the demonic wanted to put you back in that box. Hey, but thank you, Jesus. They don't need to know the answers to everything as to why God would have you do. Because I've never met a Christian like you. And anyway, doesn't the Bible say? And a lot of times they don't even understand the scriptures that well to even throw scriptures back at you. So you don't even need to have that debate with them either. I learned that a long time ago. You know, people want to have that debate. And meanwhile, they don't fully understand what they're reading either. Okay, we didn't understand all of what we were reading. We just knew, okay, God said something about accept Jesus. And there's a heaven, you know. But all the deep things to the scriptures that some people claim that they know, they don't know as much as they think they know. The Lord showed me that. And just because somebody has a degree or because somebody has been here, there, and everywhere doesn't make them an expert on that level where God is. So we are not to bow down to these sorts of people. We are not to put them on any type of pedestals whatsoever. If Jesus walked humbly before men and women, then I'm sure we should be doing the same. He stated who he was to God. And some folks looked at that as, oh, that's just terrible. I can't believe, and I will never receive that. And we still got people who walk among us to this day whose fathers told them never, ever to look at God, Jesus, as the Son of God. So you do yourself a disservice. Because when you are that one that is walking closely with the one true God, he does reveal some things to you, and it will flip your religion and what mommies and daddies and everybody else said before you upside down and sideways. I'm a witness to that. But some people don't walk with the Lord long enough away from their little gatherings and their social groups to get some understanding. This is why, too, that some people will play up this business of assembling, which is a good thing. It's in the scriptures. But there comes a time where there is a season where you're not assembling. You're doing a lot of study because God is prepping you for the next assignment. And those that don't want you to surpass them in knowledge and wisdom and wit and all of that, they're going to say, when am I going to see you again? When are you going to study with us again? When are you going to do this, that, and the other? I will tell you that some of the information that I've received over the years, holy information, right? Godly information, some of that did not come from sitting in a church setting, listening to a man. Okay? So I'm not saying this to discourage people from assembling with others. No, there are those times where God will tell you to do just that. I myself have done that many, many, many times. But there is a time where you do sit out for a while, and the Lord is going to speak to you on issues of the heart, the types of things that no, the minister is not going to be able to speak to you on. Okay? He can't speak to everybody about everything, especially when you have a strong sense, a strong urge, something deep within, a passion that only God himself can speak to you on. And sometimes men and women are not on point. So while we have these individuals who want some gifts, and I use superhuman strength as an example, some do have those gifts. There's no doubt about it. They walk among us, and more videos in the future will come up where, once again, they're not doctor videos. These are people who God himself gave them the strength, gave them the power. Man can put people under all sorts of telescopes, microscopes, or whatever else, but at the end of the day, that is still a human being that God blessed, that God gifted. But there are those who are the jealous type, those that are upset, those that are wondering, how come God, you didn't give me this, that, and the other? They will pretend to be something that they're not. There were charlatans who were pretending to act like Jesus, okay, so that they could have people follow after them, so that they could be like God in terms of, oh, I can get people to worship me. I can get people to give me money. And we got this same thing going on even over the internet. Because some people see, wow, look at all these people. And meanwhile, we know there's all sorts of tricks and all sorts of ways that people will inflate their numbers. Okay? And what you see isn't always what you see, and what you hear isn't always what you hear. But we have those charlatans who want very much to be God-like. They want very much to have some type of superpower, some type of strength. They want to be significant. I am the type of person that I tell you this, if that's what you want, if there's any gift in this world that you want, I would run it by the one true God first and foremost. And you'll be surprised. He'll give you something better, something unique, something that doesn't look like everybody else. Come on. I didn't want to be a minister. I didn't want to be somebody that looked like anybody that was out there. I just went to the one true God and asked him, what is your will for my life? What is it that you'll have me to do? You see, I want to get into how the demonic has this way of using people to suffocate others once they do see that this is genuine, this is real. And that is when you start seeing YouTube pages getting shut down and social media sites and other places around the web, and people saying things like, oh, the same one that they esteemed, right? Like they did Jesus back in the day. Now they talk about crucify him, crucify him. The same person that empowered you, that gave you information. And then some disinformation agents came in and said, no, that's conspiracy. That's not correct. That's not true. That's a lie and all that. Then you turn around and you demonize them. That's why I'm asking, whose side are you on? Because there's going to be more and more of that. That is the bad news. That's the prophecy that's ahead. There's going to be more and more people that are going to show up, and they're going to have this God-like type of power. Okay? And it is definitely ordained by the one true God. But then there's also those that are like the magicians, right? The sorcerers, the charlatans, the folks that we see even now that they like to imitate, they like to emulate, they like to be the ones that are pulling some of the traffic in their direction for quick gain. But the downside is that on both sides, we're going to lose some people. We're going to lose some people because they end up growing too fast on the side of good and on the side of evil. And the people in the middle that don't want to believe any of it, okay, they're the ones that's going around and being used by the demonic to kill, to destroy, to sedate. African Americans, I personally have seen over the years, very young, how very gifted, smart, intelligent, genius level type of African Americans somehow fell into these traps dealing with drugs, both legal and illegal. And what do some of these drugs do? What they do is they lower your inhibitions. And when your inhibitions are lower, you don't think on levels that you should. You end up wanting that drug. You become an addict to that drug. And so whatever your gifting is, whatever your spiritual calling is, you don't achieve it because you've been too busy sedating it. And the demonic wants very much for you to sedate. Bye-bye, go to sleep. Don't wake up. It hurts. It hurts when you see this sort of thing because you think to yourself, that aunt, that uncle, that mother, that father, that cousin, that brother, that sister, they could have been so great. They could have been at levels that, wow, we see some of these folks in books and elsewhere, but they never got to it because they fell into the seduction of, this is cool, smoke this, this is all right, drink this. You see. So there is, once again, the demonic attempts to suffocate, to kill those who have God-like powers, whether for good or for evil. Those people are the ones that are in the middle. The ones that, I don't believe in the demonic, I don't believe in God, but I know one thing, I don't want nobody having that type of gifting because, well, it's dangerous or it's a problem for society or what have you. And so how does these middle groups monitor such things? How do they know to go in on some people? Because you post all sorts of videos and audios, right? We do it. And so they are able to gauge how strong you're getting. They're able to gauge who your connections are or who might be future connections. They're able to see if you are going to be a threat to anything that they got going on. Okay? We're not talking about single groups here, like one group. We're talking about multiple groups, groups of subgroups. that are watching and are waiting. My advice simply is don't post anything on the internet unless moved upon by the Spirit of God. If you do have something phenomenal, supernatural, something that is out of this world, I would reserve to put that up until opportune time. You see, don't do things in your time, do things in God's time, and God will get the glory. And your particular video or audio or whatever it might be may be the thing that propels people for the right time in the right season. But when you do things in an off season, all you get is people who end up seeing, we can't let this get out. And so there's the censorship. So do things in his time and be under the radar. You see. Psychologists used to convince you that or I should say psychologists will at times be used to convince you that you are not gifted, believe it or not. Okay? This sort of thing happens with people who their gifting is such a threat, is so big, is so powerful, and we got to do something. So something crazy happens, something associated with that gifting. Let's pull that person in. Let's give them a little chit chat. Let's talk to them about some things. The objective is to make you feel like you are not the one who's gifted, that you are not the one who's strong, that you are not the one that can move the masses. They don't want any more Martin Luther Kings. All right? They don't want any more individuals who can do things to change history. And one thing that people knew way back when was that man definitely had God on him. Even the unbelievers say there's something special about him. You see, they don't want any more Kennedys. They don't want anybody who exhibits any type of supernatural strength showing up and showing out in the lives of masses. We're not talking about individuals, masses. When the individual does show up, and we have seen this sort of thing with televangelists and so forth over the years, they end up getting close to them and suffocating the gift, doing something with the gift so that it is altered to fit whatever their agenda is. So what could have been ends up not being all that influential. You see, and you can water down a lot of things with some lights and sounds, and you can do some things that, and say some things that people it just won't resonate with them. And they know this. Those that don't want the supernatural to take hold, they know this. No revivals. Oh no. No, they don't want that. No more civil rights types of movements. No. You see? So you have to rise above all of the brainwashing, all of the you don't have this gift, and isn't it really just your mind? You know, it's just all in your mind. You don't really have these types of dreams and aspirations, right? That was just something that was put upon you. You got to be able to shake all of that when people come at you in all directions, talking about what you don't have, calling you all sorts of names and things like that. I have heard and seen and just all sorts of just weird negativity show up from the time that I started uploading spiritual videos years back. And I was like, what's up with this? Since when what I'm saying is some type of threat? Since when would people, feel this need to want to speak all this negativity? What's up with that? And then, of course, that's when I noticed that there was select individuals in various countries that were going to jail for what they blogged. And I noticed that there were individuals that were dying that once had YouTube channels. Okay? things have been getting quite serious over the years, and it's not just all entertainment and all fun and everybody's good and this sort of thing doesn't happen, because no, it does. That is what some people want you to believe, but it does. And RIP to those YouTubers who did expose and who had very powerful videos but were shut up and shut out. So if they pick up that you have any type of frailties, weaknesses, what have you, they use those against you to ultimately break you down, to get you to not speak. And a lot of times families are used, those that are closest. I thought you were in support of me. And in fact, you find out that that person is nothing more than being paid to say certain things to get you to stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. Well, when this sort of suppression takes place, what does it ultimately do? If you look at it from a spiritual perspective, it's going to slow you down in terms of revelation, connecting the dots. It's going to slow you down in terms of your healing, because everybody knows there's some healing when you go through a process of uncovering and exposing anyone or anything. And then it's going to knock you off course from God's plan and his purpose for your life. The brainwashing, right? The control, the power that somebody else puts upon you, the abuse, the stalking, whatever it is that they got, that is ultimately what they're hoping to do. The demonic, that is, from the spiritual side of things. But in the natural, simply put, we don't need you as competition. Or we don't want you telling secrets. Or we don't want you gaining any type of power. Because once again, haters are going to hate. And then we can get into some other things that I've been seeing a pattern of over the years. And that is that when you are walking on the side of light, you are going to question some things that the darkness is doing, and they don't like questions. They don't like anything that sounds like you're going to slow their roll. So, example, animal and human DNA testing, experimenting, mixing, developing, you name it. In the beginning, a lot of folks were speaking out about that, and they did not like that. They weren't in support of that. But if folks wanted to continue to participate in their scientific experiments, and so they had to orchestrate some plans to get some of those mouths to be quiet about that sort of thing. Now, when you're in the way of the demonic agenda and you're speaking out against whatever that agenda might be, or you could be just letting people know about their brainwashing and their controlling tactics, and you're just derailing their goals, then you're like that vigilante that they want to get rid of. Okay? So there is this plan to destroy for interfering. The musician who decides to start spewing out secrets, the person who decides to have these hidden these meetings with these hidden agendas that go off track and have nothing to do with what the plan is. They're not staying on course. Okay, we got to get rid of this person because they're a threat. So the best thing that I can suggest, if any of you all feel this is turning into something bigger, whatever it is that you're working on, who you're connected to, and you are in the middle of this thing and you've got to make a decision whether you want to go left or go right. One thing I would suggest is make sure that you have recordings of everything, and there's a safe place where you've got backups upon backups, that If you see that there's some foolishness going on in your neck of the woods and somebody's pushing you, to do something you really don't want to do, and they're pretty much got you backed up in a corner, you once again want to make sure that you got documents, evidence, proof, okay? That you've got people who will protect you. And your side, whatever side that you pick, you may be on the left or you may be on the right. You may be good, you may be evil, whatever side. Just know that there are those, though, that are in the middle of this thing that don't like either or. Okay, so there's no sense in thinking that you got friends with middle of the road people, lukewarm people, people that are not willing to do anything more than get you out the way so that they can make their buck, so that they can snatch up your audience, so that they can get their fame, their fortune, whatever that's been promised to them for derailing efforts. Okay. But know that whether you expose evil or whether you expose good or whatever, at the end of the day, ask the Lord to continue to protect you, to guide you, to give you the strength, to put his angels, right, to work on your behalf. There is an appointed time for all to pass away, right? So you want to make sure that this time that you have on this planet, that you are doing the righteous thing and that you are on the right with the Lord and not over there messing around in areas that the Lord himself doesn't even mess around in, you see. And last but not least, I like to quote this scripture every now and again, Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So if you know full well that you are not that one, you are not the believer, and you don't have a love for the Lord or respect for the Lord, and you don't think you're called to do too much of anything because you haven't bothered to even go down that path, my suggestion to you is, why not? Why not go down that path? Why not spend some time with the one true God and have him just speak into your spirit? Don't be like the hater that sees everybody else got a gift, but I don't have one. Everybody else, is just doing all these good things, but, what's up? Or being like those other ones who say, oh, we got to do something because there's just too many of these gifted people and they're exposing this, that, and the other, and we got to destroy them. You don't want to be that person either. So make sure you know whose side you're going to be on. And don't be that one that's assuming that everybody who has something that looks like, that sounds like, is of whatever that might be. Because sometimes I will tell you from personal experience, God will use us in ways where we are holding up a sign or two or showing a symbol or what have you to draw that child of darkness in to the light. And sometimes that's the only way that you can bring some people in, is that you've got to lure them in with the very thing that they're familiar with. And I know that's above some people's heads because they're like, what, you mean to tell me that, a symbol that's of darkness that the Lord will actually use? You just never know. Because I have seen things where I thought it was of darkness when I saw the symbol and then clicked on it and there's scriptures, and it turned out that it was actually exposing some of the foolishness that some of these occult groups were up to. And so the symbol, would draw some folks who may be on the fence about what they're doing, you see. So don't assume that because you see something that, that person is bad, that person's ugly. Yeah, I heard about that. We did some research. We know, blah, blah, blah. See, ignorant people jump to conclusions. Ignorant people don't spend any time talking, asking questions. Ignorant people just say, I see that. So she must be, or he must be. And meanwhile, you don't know what God got us doing. Okay? Especially those that fly under the radar. You don't know. So sit back, for some of you all, and just watch the movie and see how this whole thing plays out. And I tell you, The one true God is going to be working with some people in ways that we will be so shocked. We'll be so shocked because that's just how God is. He's an awesome God, right? You never know which way he's coming or who he might use. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube Interim Enterprise 7. May God richly bless you as well as those that you love. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. Blessings to you.